Friends and family, we gather here today in grief and in love to remember the life of our friend and brother, George Antonio Desousa, and to support one another during this difficult time. As we come together, let's take a moment of prayer so we can comfort each other with healing and strength. Thanks a lot, you guys, for being here. It means the world to us. Matt and I were fit to be tied when we first heard. And it was not cool, not pretty. We commenced to leave this place right here. We were sitting on that couch for like an hour and a half. Inconsolable, all of us. And then got hammered. Oops, that shouldn't be on there. We're good. It's a shock to all of us. George is by far the most gentle, kindest man I have ever met. He's with the Lord right now. We ain't got to worry about him. He's in good hands. No more suffering. Look, death is for the living. Okay? Death is for the living. And we all here to mourn his death, but to love him. Okay? And remember the solid parts of his life. He has touched each and every one of us in ways that we will never, ever forget. From his laugh to his coffee. That brother loved his coffee and a ribeye. That's the only time he ain't talking, is when he's eating. Okay? That's the only time the brother ain't talking. I know. He loved kids. This has been overwhelming. We are not going to forget him. Thank you, each and every one of you, for the distances you've all traveled. I know you guys come from a lot of long places, faraway places. We are grateful. Matt and I and Carl, we put this together. It wasn't really a format. We really just wanted you guys to come and celebrate his life with us. Remember the heart that brother has. Okay, the love, the generosity. George knew value. From money, he loved his money. And he loved this stake. He knew value. He valued his friendships. He valued each of us. And I think he would say that to us if he were here. But since he's not, we're going to remember who he is, the way he's touched each and every one of us. Thank you guys for being here.
Is to not have Joel edit a bunch of crying, okay? That's the objective here, okay? So I'm going to try to keep it a little light. If I break it, you guys just breathe with me, okay? Yeah. Anybody have cold water I can just pour on my face? Jesus Christ. All right, guys. So first thing on that note, we're not here to mourn. Mourning, beautiful. You got to do it, but we're here to celebrate. So let's focus on that. There's probably not any words that I can use now. I've thought about it, and I actually didn't even spend time writing anything in advance. I just said I'm going to do it now.
That's a pug.
Yeah. That's okay. Pugs have that effect on people. Yeah. I had an ex-girlfriend just like that. Sorry. Okay. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about George. To understand George, you'd have to understand Natalia and Tony. And guess what? George's middle name is Antonio, after my dad. But you know, I think that's really important, is because George was a perfect blend of both. So if you knew Natalia, Heart of gold.
Yeah.
All right, that was a mistake talking about mom. Let's keep her out of here, okay? Whew, okay. But you get the message, right? If you want to understand George, you got to understand where he came from. Okay. So, where the hell did George go? Y'all ever just think of that? What? Where does someone like that go?
A bakery in heaven.
Is he just ashes in the sea, or is there energy in the sky, in the universe? I don't know. But I tell you one thing. Let's not let George leaving. Let's not just let it die. Let me ask you guys to do one thing, okay? For today, while you're here, what would George do? I want you to be George for the next 20, 30 minutes, whatever. How can you be George? I want you to, I'm going to ask one thing. I know this is a big ask. I want you to go out and introduce yourself to everybody in this house that you don't, especially those you don't know. What would George do? I want you to be George. I want you to walk in his shoes for the next 30 minutes, okay? Can I get you guys to do that?
Do that.
Okay? It's easy. It's hard for some of you. It's out of your comfort zone. You got a stranger you don't know. But that's what George would do. Okay? I'm going to ask you to do that. Yeah, and really that's it. If you can do that, I think you're carrying on George's spirit, wherever he may be. I'd like to point out that we'll possibly see you in May because oldest sister could not make it, so she's going to have an event in San Jose for those who can attend. Reach out to me or somebody else if you want information on that. We're also going to, after this, we're going to go back to the hotel, and we have a big space there that we've reserved for those who need alcohol to deal with the situation. Okay? And then last of all, I want to thank a lot of people that made this happen. Matt, thank you for all the work you've done. I want to thank Julie, who always does work in the background. There's an interesting one. You guys have met Earl, Uncle Earl.
The video man.
All this video footage?
Yeah.
Guess who does this? Earl has videoed decades and decades of the Desousa family and the Hill family, so I never get to thank him enough for that. Taylor, Joelle, thank you guys for all the work you're doing and the great videoing.
Love you, George. Love you.
Yeah, and then Becky, Don, you guys, thanks for doing this. It's a big deal. And then your brother, Matt, thanks for doing the dirty work in the background that he's done to help with George's affairs as well. Okay? That's it, man. Matt, it's all yours.
Wow. Guys, first and foremost,
Do you need my sunglasses?
no, I mean, I've been stumped. It's like I've been having red eyes for the last 6 weeks. So first and foremost, guys, you will see photos, and I'll refer to them in a minute, but those are snapshots of Don and George's travels. There's some pictures there that, again, I'll get to, but of George and I growing up in our elementary school days. So as I talk through this, these are the photos that I'm referring to. So I went to cue cards, quite honestly, guys, because the last 2 weeks have been extremely tough. So with that being said, I'll try to keep my stuff together and come to a collective thought. So please, if I go off on a tangent, there's a rationale to it. Okay? So first of all, thank you, Don, for opening up the house to us. I know as you and I have talked with JD, as John referenced earlier, you were saying, hey, I'm good. This is for you guys. And quite honestly, it's for all of us. It's about all of us. And I think the magnetism that George had in his life is exemplified by the people in this room. Okay? I'm going to try to keep it brief, but to not speak about him and the virtues of George and the extent and the impact, the positive impact he had on my life, would be wrong. So, here I go. As we all know, words can't express the deep sense of loss we all feel. The profound feeling of sorrow. You hear the word sorrow, you hear people talk about it. But when somebody this near and dear to your life, again, the magnetism of George, it hits you, sometimes you drop your self-defense mechanisms that we all build in our life. And that Georgism, that George feeling hits you. Could be. I've said a lot of stuff lately, Carl. So, it's that profound sense of sorrow that I believe we all have. So, we all wanted to gather here and let people express what they had to say. But again, I appreciate you allowing me to say what I had to say. So when I got that call from Don on that Thursday morning, I was driving up 5-5 to get in front of one of my $1 million customers and their new purchasing manager, who was there to tell me the new rules of engagement. But as I cried and I blew snot all over my steering wheel and I cleaned myself up, shot Visine in my eyes, I walked in that room understanding my life had changed from that moment forward. The way I look at things. You chase that dollar, you want to take care of your family, but when something that profound happens in your life, you have that instant checkup from the neck up. And I'm going off the cards, guys, so I'm re-spewing here. So that's how I felt, and that's how I felt for these last 2 weeks. So again, that's kind of prompted me to gather my stuff last night about 12 o'clock, and it reminded me of George and I studying in college. Like, shit, we've got to study because the test is tomorrow, right? And my test, yeah, and my test is delivering my presentation about George to you guys. So, with that being said, I'll try to get back to the cards. As you hear in life, and you look and you try to realize, why you're here in life, and you study about as we get older, I hear about longevity specialists. I'm reading about how to live a better life, a cleaner life. With my father passing a year ago, my mom in deep Alzheimer's, Joy's dad passing, Joy's mom now in hospice. You start to realize how life is so precious, right? When you see George, the one that you thought would outlive us all. I used to tell George, shit, dude, when you bury me in the ground, make sure we rock this place, all right? So, it's like I said, I think we're all in that shock. But what I've read is, through these longevity specialists, they tell you people that live the longest, as they study people and why they live so long, they say one of the keys is connection to people. And if you can connect in your life to 5 different people, either it be your brother, the kid next door, you can have 5 true friendships in your life. It is proven that that'll extend your life. Okay? I am fortunate to say I met one of my 5 in the 2nd grade. The photos will show you I'm standing right next to George, because we were pretty short, right? Sit on stage, take your photo, in the 2nd grade. So I feel very fortunate that I met my one of 5 in the 2nd grade. That's why I say refer to photos. The key to that, guys, is, for me, I was so lucky that George helped me define in my life. To me, he was my fundamental, foundational friend. Showed me what it was to be a true friend. As we said when we were younger, we used to laugh with our East Side San Jose slang and tell each other under our own breath a few curse words here and there, yo mofo and other words like that. But it was key. We look at each other and say, man, you're my brother from another mother. I think some of you heard that as we've grown up. That was truly how I looked at George. As we grew up, we found ourselves side by side as we navigated through life, forging a bond that transcended time and distance. Through time in college, I went to Los Angeles to work for which is now Boeing. George and I were still close. George moved to North Carolina, pursue his internet dreams, and we kept in contact. Even when George decided it was time to come back to California, it was Derek Sanderson, for those who know him, John Dickinson, and myself that flew out to pick up George and drive across the United States back together. Yeah, it was our Bros Before Hoes strip club trip across America, baby. Yeah, so I didn't drive a mile that whole trip. I was the director of party personnel. I will say no more. They didn't have much scanning back in the days going through pre-check. So we had a hell of a party as we traveled across the United States. But it was time for George to come home, and we were there to bring him home. Okay? So just to give a little flavor, right? That's the time and distance. We shared in each other's triumphs because we went to college together. We graduated from the same industrial technology school. George went on to pursue his electronics dreams. I failed at that miserably and went into packaging. We were there to comfort each other through life's inevitable challenges. George was key when my first son passed. He kept me on the rails. He drove me here and there, picked me up when I was in places I shouldn't be. And as we were younger, we developed a bond where the old saying, bros before hoes. Because we lived in a small pond, man. We looked at the same girls. We talked to the same girls. And George was so cool. He had his 5 o'clock shadow, right? I was half blind. I had one eye going this way. I had teeth going that way. I had to talk a mean game just to get some play, okay? George was cool, though, right? And he could shoulder tap. Look at George. He could get beer at a much younger age. So, thank you, George. Again, I've got to go back to the photos, guys. Dawn helped me understand some of the photos. I thought they were at Disneyland on the photo where he has a sword, but she had to clue me in. That's a cocktail with the freaking straw hanging out. He's a little hammered. Yeah. 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 Do you see a photo of him floating on the water? That's the water was George was most comfortable. He felt most happy. Floating on the water, snorkeling. So, he would, he loved that. The water calmed him down, was my key takeaway. Yeah. Can I get a tissue? I feel like I'm in rehab or something. Jesus Christ. I'm almost done, guys. But one thing, it'd be wrong for me not to say, George was a competitive person. Through his calm demeanor and just his subtle ways, but he had a competitive spirit in him. And that was a lot driven, I think, from trying to be like his brother, Carl, like Mike Hubenthal. We had many discussions about that and the love he had for you two guys, specifically guiding us when we were a lot younger and keeping us on that path to get our college degree.
You guys are wild. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But for some people in the room that played soccer with us, I think they'd know George's competitive spirit showed up Jose Soto, his brother Felix. Soto's people who played on the East Side Lions when we were little kids. Yeah.
Hold on. Rudy? Where's Rudy?
Yeah.
How many times did he hit the post in the CCS game, George? 7 times. You guys know soccer?
Yeah.
Statistically,
Yeah.
George hit the post 7 times.
Yeah.
Wow. And they lost 1-0.
Yeah. That hurt Santa Teresa. Who was thinking, you know? He was also, you know, Mount Pleasant Soccer, Sousa Realty, the Sousa Realty team right here. You notice, you know, when I was asked to pull up a soccer photo and they said, hey, we need George's soccer photo. And I'm thinking, George is number 9. I'm thinking, Jose Soto and all our teams was mostly number 10. But then in the high school one, you see George is 10. I think that was part of his competitive spirit.
Got 10 last year. In Portugal. Played on the beaches of Portugal. Brother and Julia.
Yeah.
Good timing.
Yeah.
Just ignore the half ball guy over there.
Yeah. Lastly, it'd be wrong if I didn't share that, you know, through the times and years that we spent together, George was a deep thinker and he was an avid reader.
Yeah.
For anybody, you spent time with George, he read books, he reread books, and he liked to keep up on financial times and what was going on. So he'd educate me a lot on that. At times, it got interesting.
Hey, how many know the Foundation series is? Raise your hands, please. I want to figure out who you George. Isaac Asimov.
I do now.
Okay.
Make it money.
What about George? Look up Isaac Asimov's Foundation.
Yeah. So over the last several years that I've come back and George lived here, there's a Starbucks right down the way. So on the weekends, I'd come and we'd visit, even brief, an hour or two, hang out with George. We'd walk down the way, have a cup of coffee, shoot the breeze, right? Discussing old times. Friends of ours that we haven't seen, that we haven't contacted. We'd criticize ourselves for that. We'd wish you guys well. And we would thank you guys for the memories. For 2 geeks from East San Jose, we would sit there and go, man, you know, we did okay, right? But remember Jose? Remember the Sotos? We used to have a couple beers, sit at the bar, then all of a sudden I'd shout out Jose, à la vie, à la vo, à la vie, von va, Lions, Lions, and then George being a local, the bartender would look at him and say, what's up with your friend? Yeah, he's okay, right? Just to have old times. But we appreciated the Lions, we appreciated the friendships that we developed, appreciated your brother, Cruz, for taking the time. I don't think as a kid you realize what older people do for you in the development of time. George's dad picking us up from being dropped off by the transit system, trying to make it out of Berkeley. We went to Berkeley for 4 years, every Friday doing Taekwondo, okay? And the buses system only got you so far. We couldn't get home. A lot of times we walked from downtown San Jose home.
They have to do Taekwondo just to get home.
Yeah. So that being said, interesting times. But, yeah, I digressed. So those times of, you know, having those conversations, George, to me, those ones truly hurt. So on the weekends, it just really hurt, you know. And occasionally we had heated debates. George, being the literate and smart guy that he was, he would quote the Wall Street Journal and Forbes magazine. My rebuttal was quotes from the internet and Penthouse. That was my favorite comeback to him. He did not find merit in my research, but chuckled when I called out the year and the month and centerfold of the Penthouse in which I read the article.
You can
Just
interpret
joking.
a graph.
Yeah.
Hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. In closing, you know, like I said before, we used to refer to as, you know, my brother from another mother, but as we got older, George became more reclusive. He didn't answer the phone all the time because he really wanted his private time. He'd tell me, Matt, because I had to answer that phone for a year and carry a phone for a year. He goes, I'm not going to be anybody's phone bitch anymore. I'm like, ooh, tell me more, George, right? And I would rebut by telling him, George, if you were in sales, you would starve. You know, what's going on, man? I've been in sales for 20 some odd years. You're killing me, dude. But that was George. He knew how to have his balance. He strived to have his balance in life. I always respected him for that, right? So something I hopefully will accomplish someday. So I'd just like to say goodbye, my brother. Until we meet again, you will always be missed and never forgotten. And again, thank you, Don. Thank you all for showing up. Please eat up and take some cookies, because George was the cookie monster, dude. That was the whole symbolism behind the cookies. And if you've had a drink, please have a soda and drink, because nobody wants anybody to get in no trouble. Okay? Thank you, guys.
Thank you. You want to open it up for everybody to come?
Yeah.
Anyone?
And what can I do for what can I do? What can I do? And I say to people, you know what? And as I need other things, she's got things here for me, and she picks up for me. So just, and then that, and then JD came over. So you guys are my tribe. And I'm reaching out to you, Brian, thank you for helping me with my mom's house. As I need you, I will call you, and I will say, can you do this for me? And it's making me realize how important a community and a tribe is when something like this happens in your life. And that don't think because I haven't reached out to you right now that a month from now you're not going to get a text or phone call from me. Because I'm meeting, hey, you guys, this is your skill. Will you help me with this? And this is what got me through this, honestly. And as you guys, many of you know, George and I were planning to go to Florida and retire this year. So I will be going to Florida. The house will be put on the market probably March 1st, and I'll be gone. I can't live here without him. And I know he would want me to. So I will have a spare bedroom in Florida. And for those of you who want to come and play pickleball and golf and drink margaritas or whatever, you know, all that fun stuff. So thank you all. George was a Jedi. He was a Jedi. You would talk to who owns that out there? It's a big little 9-hole around the blue. That would be so
Open bar tab.
So Franny and I will be packing up and moving to Florida. So thank you all. This is the party that we were going to do before we left. So here we go. And George is here in spirit. Mm-hmm. He's the voice in my head now. He's with me. So he's just on the Florida with me that way, so physically. So thank you all so much.
All right.
Such a bunch.
Thank you, Don. So make sure you meet everybody with you guys. Okay, that's your one thing for George, okay?
Oh,
I'm sorry. It's Mr. Obvious, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Anybody else say words?
Sure.
Michael?
Stay there. I just have some,
Who are you?
I'm Mike Hubenthal, friend of the family, and I remember I wore one of those, yeah. About tears in my eyes when I saw that.
Come on, one, there should be more. Where are you guys?
Oh, here? Yeah.
There's probably one version for our brother. Okay. Yeah.
That's right. Mine's not going to be as deep, and it's just memories I have, deep memories. One is getting my butt kicked in foosball many times. I don't know if you ever played foosball with the Desousas, but it was a lot of crap talking. So you didn't just lose; you got losing, insulted all the way down. I think I'm going to block that one. Oh yeah, sure. And the second was in real football, real soccer, just the way George played, that effortless way he moved. Anyway, that's